Yeah, that's right.
Next, we're going to talk about New York State legalizes weed. Yeah, what do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about weed legalization?
It's about fucking time.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I would agree. It's been. I felt like this was one of those things that was right on the verge, as like I was back in high school. You know what I mean? like half my life ago, I was like, "Oh, weed's going to become legal soon. It's got to be," and then not so much. But we do have a USA Today article pulled up real quick. New York Times becomes the 15th state to legalize weed. New York's become the 15th state to legalize possession of marijuana for recreational use, allowing anyone over the age of 21 to possess up to 3 ounces. Cuomo signed the Marijuana Taxation and Regulation Act into law Wednesday afternoon, a day after the legislation approved it by a wide margin. Legislation passed at 43-20 in the Senate and 149 in the Assembly, with Democrats controlling both chambers. Of course, it's New York. That goes without saying. Effective immediately, it is no longer a crime or violation to possess up to 3 ounces of marijuana in New York. So
damn.
That was effective immediately. So people literally went from criminals to law-abiding citizens like that second this article got published.
Wow.
But for the next year, at least, New York will be in something of a gray area. Dispensary and on-site consumption site sales of marijuana cannot begin until April 1st, 2022, which raises the question, was this a giant April Fool's joke? Is this one of the biggest trolls we've ever seen? That's a beautiful looking little field that's not nearly ready for harvest. The measure creates a regulatory system to oversee the cannabis industry. And that's what I wanted to ask you guys about, because that's what I don't necessarily like about legalization is the difference between decriminalization and legalization is the government controlling it.
Yeah.
Right? So in theory, a libertarian would want decriminalization of drugs, but not necessarily legalization, because then we're paying tax dollars,
right?
On cannabis, which I think is great for the state. I don't think that's great for the person. I'd like to hear what you guys think about that too, because I know we have wildly different political views. G-Dubs, what do you think?
I part of me is going, I'm torn, because legalization means that I don't have to deal with drug dealers.
That's true. Well, it means you have to deal with state-sanctioned drug dealers.
Right. Which I don't have to sit in their fucking apartment and listen to their Fish cover band.
That's true.
Decriminalization still leaves a black market, which is the majority of the crime happens because of a black market. Legalization means that the black market is mostly taken care of. And I say mostly because depending on their tax structure and supply, there's still going to be black market dealers. The same thing with booze. There's still fucking moonshiners now.
Yep. Bootlegging is a thing.
Yes. Still. And they're not going to get rid of it. And especially with minors. But it's a step in the right direction. And I would rather have my pay tax dollars going to what other fund that marijuana research or whatever that they go to than the fucking criminals in war.
That's true. Kevin, what do you think? Are you a fan of legalization or no?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I don't use it myself, but I think it should be legal. I think it's, from what I understand, it's definitely the least harmful of all the drugs, Yeah,
definitely pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close. I think it's definitely less harmful than pain medications, something like opioids and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about from my perspective, professional athletes, like football players who suffered a whole shitload of concussions, or anyone that suffers a lot of concussions, what do they usually do? They give them a bunch of painkillers and they end up going crazy or something like that, but if you give them, they start smoking pot and they're fine. I think that's what happened to Jim McMahon, the Bears quarterback from back in the I think he smokes weed now or something like that. And his head doesn't hurt anymore. You know, I think we definitely need to research it more and find out. I'm sure there's a lot of great stuff that we can do with it. You know, we can cure a lot more stuff.
There's a lot of interesting. Cannabis has a lot of interesting properties that I don't think we're. Yeah, it's a great point. Nick writes in. He says, "I want to know why they can have 3 ounces when we can only have 2. I meant we can only have 1 ounce." Yeah, that's a very good question, Nick. That was actually something GW and I mentioned before the show. Was that the fact that New York's you're allowed to have 3 ounces on your person. In Vermont, you're allowed to have 1 ounce of cannabis, and anything over that, up to 2 ounces is like a fine, and then up to over 2 is some type of legal penalty, which is silly because, and I'll ask you guys because I don't get the marijuana limit thing, because there's no limit at the goddamn liquor store. Like if I walk in with $10,000 and I want to buy $10,000 worth of liquor, I am fully within my legal right to purchase as much as I can pay for. Some reason, and I get dealing and this and that, but with a legalized system, what do you guys think about that?
Well,
there should be limits.
No, I don't. I think the limits are stupid and arbitrary. And the fact that we don't have a way of supplying demand right now.
Yeah. Because
we don't have a legal infrastructure for marijuana. So that means that there's people out there that have to have more than 1 ounce on them.
Yeah. To supply everybody that needs 1 ounce.
Yeah. Yep. And it's not fair to those people. Like those people should be regulated by the state. I can't believe that those words just came out of my mouth.
Wow.
It's also completely insane because anybody who's ever grown marijuana in their life knows that growing 1 ounce would be a struggle. Like if you're good at it anyways. Like don't get me wrong, there's plenty of people who grow shitty pot plants who only get a little bit. But anybody who's done it successfully knows that 1 ounce is like if you only harvested 1 ounce per plant, it would probably not be worth the electricity you put into it.
Yeah.
Nick Waters also said 5 grams of hash. I assume, I don't know if that was in New York or Vermont. I'm assuming that's Vermont. Jason said toga. It's about time for a toga party.
That once we all get our shots. Let's
Yep.
That's right. Moving along, you guys got anything to say else about this?
Nope.
What happened when we moved from buy weed in New York because they're gonna have a system out before Vermont does because Vermont's fucking stupid.
I think it'll be just the same as Massachusetts right now for us. I mean, Massachusetts has full-on legal dispensaries that you can go down and purchase as a Vermonter.
We can?
Yes. I mean, the initial issue was that it would run out like within the first like half part of the day, and like the demand was so high that they would just continue to run out, and you'd get there and there'd be nothing left until they got resupplied the next day. I don't know if that's still a thing, but yeah, Massachusetts has been like that for a while.
Not that I'm saying I might take a trip down to Massachusetts.
Moving into the next topic.